What's going on, YouTube? It is your boy Trev. I am back with you again. All right. We started talking about this a little while ago when I did the live stream with 17 Dog of Lunatics Token. And I said that I would make a video on it, so here it is. Um, Yesterday, I made a video while I was at work about some ideas that I had about this $4.16 million in Ethereum cross chain belonging to the Terra Classic community. And not necessarily so much about the money, although a little bit about the money, but a lot about this committee that was proposed by Alex and somewhat Ed in this proposal that was posted on Agora. And their intention was to form this 6-person committee consisting of several current Terra rebels, as well as some former Terra rebels, and then some people who have nothing to do with the Terra rebels. And then they were going to add on another 3 and have an ultimate total of 9 people that would be in control, basically, of this $4.16 million and would draw a salary from it, each of them $5,000 a month, totaling $45,000 a month or $540,000 per year out of that 4.16 approximately million dollars that's there. Well, a lot of people have a lot of different ideas on what actually should be done with that money. They've got a lot of ideas and maybe even some issues or problems with that particular proposal. They have problems with the fact that this 9 would be, kind of self-appointed. Well, self-appointed, not even kind of self-appointed, self-appointed. And Alex suggested or maybe hinted to the fact that he was the one who had the conversations with Do Kwon, who actually let him know about this money and that it was available, and that he laid out a specific plan or some specific criteria as to how this money could actually get released into the control of some new signers, different signers than the ones that are controlling it now. And this is why Alex put together this proposal, and he picked the guys, and they supposedly had conversations and picked some other guys, and they decided themselves that they would be the people who would control this money and would draw the salary from it, totally excluding the community from that decision. Now, I've heard things, I haven't seen exactly where this came from, and maybe you guys can let me know in the comment section, but I've heard things about that it was suggested that it was going to be a donation, and a donation given under certain circumstances, and those circumstances had to do with the forming of this particular committee. And so because of that, it did not need to go up for proposal or be approved by the community. Okay. So there's loopholes being played. There's a bunch of different opinions and perspectives. Okay. All right. So, I took a little time to consider it. And the way I look at it, I believe that having a committee to oversee not only this money, but the path forward in general for Terra Classic and for LUNC, an established committee is not necessarily a bad thing. In fact, I think it's probably more advantageous than not. Okay. I understand the argument that crypto in general, and specifically Luna Classic, Lunk, Terra Classic, is decentralized. I understand that we fought for a while okay, and put in a lot of effort, particularly, via the Terra rebels, to establish governance and so that we could submit proposals and the community could vote on major things to propel the chain forward. I understand all that. I also understand that with millions of holders and no one taking a lead, forming a path and a plan, that we will just see proposal after proposal after proposal. And because the majority of the community is not really educated in these things, in these blockchain intricacies, in these financial intricacies, because the majority of the community just kind of listens to their favorite YouTuber or favorite guy hosting a Twitter space. Because of that, I don't think we're going to get anywhere without an established team blazing a trail for us. We would see a proposal, we'd vote on it, we'd vote yes, then another proposal would come out and it would totally contravene that other proposal, but it would sound good, so we'd vote yes. We'd go around in circles. I'm convinced of it. So I believe that we do need a crew, right? But I also agree with those who are saying this self-appointed 9 is not the way to go. And I'm not even saying that I necessarily disagree with the people who are chosen, because some of them I don't know, so I really can't make any kind of judgment call on it. But a few of them I do know, and they would be the people that I would pick if I could to be on this committee. Zaradar is just a master coder, cool under fire, level-headed, focused, stays as much above the drama and the politicking as he can. Professor Dr. Edward Kim, we know everything about Ed. I mean, this man is revered in the community for what he's accomplished, for his cool, calm demeanor, for his way of explaining to everyone some technical, and difficult things to understand, for his level of transparency and his effort to be available to the community for questions or concerns. Those two to me are a no-brainer, okay? Who might be a little more controversial is Alex himself. And Alex, admittedly, is very divisive. Divisive because of some of the proposals that he has put forth that may have struck the community in a negative way. May have struck even some of his peers in a negative way. But Alex, to me, is someone I would absolutely have on this team if I had the choice. Alex is extremely intelligent. He is a professional in his field. You just cannot doubt his intentions. Even if his methods are not palatable, he is constantly trying to find out-of-the-box ways to propel this thing forward and bring us all to the promised land that we want to get to. Now, a lot of people would vote no on Alex just off the rip, okay? And if it actually came up for a vote, I don't know that Alex would necessarily be elected. But he would have people like me on his side. Because I have seen where he and Zaradar have been on opposite sides of things. Opposite sides of proposals. And they worked it out, right? Even though they very much disagreed with each other's position or plan, they remained professional about it to a degree. There were some words that were exchanged, right? But ultimately, you know what? Families do that. Friends do that. We go at each other. We go at each other sometimes pretty hard because we know what buttons to push. But at the end of the day, if you can come back together and hug it out, you're all the stronger for it. And that's what I've seen those guys do. So you don't want a bunch of people on this committee who, you don't want it to be one big echo chamber where everyone just agrees. You have to have opposing views, and then reach middle ground. And that's kind of how you move forward. Okay. So Alex, I think, could be that other force that would keep things balanced. So I personally think that he would be great for the committee. But that's neither here nor there. The point that I really want to get at is that it should be up to the community who these people are. Okay, I don't know the other three people that they talked about introducing to the six, and I don't even really know Max all that well. I'm not even sure that I've ever had a conversation with Max. I know that he is a member or a former member of the Terra Rebels, and his name is one that I've heard often, but I don't know a lot about him. I respect that those guys would include him in the mix. But any of the other names, I've never really heard of. I don't know anything about them. So I think it should be up to the community. And what I did was I made this video yesterday, kind of spitballing some different ideas of what that might look like. An election, an actual election. Even putting the $4.16 million aside, even if we never get that money, I still think that having this committee to kind of progress things forward is and come up with a plan that we would all stick to, but that we would have some input on, is a good idea. Now, you might say, well, we already have the Terra Rebels. The Terra Rebels, if you're in their Discord and you read some of the things that are going on right now, first off, a lot of people have left the Terra Rebels. Some people are still there, but maybe not putting in as much full time because there are some other projects that they're working on as well. And who is left? Well, after this whole scenario with I'm having a mental block right now, but the blockchain company that is kind of financing them or whatever, or supporting them. The name will come to me. I'm just blanking out on it right now. It's late and I'm tired. But anyway, after that whole thing, and a lot of some pretty prominent people speaking out against what they did by accepting that deal, speaking out against the company themselves, calling them shady, and then having a large portion of the community kind of turn on and criticize them. Well, I think that they've decided that they don't want to deal with that anymore. So they are taking the stance that they are a private company. They do not represent the community. They represent the network, and they will proceed in that vein. They are not interested in this $4.16 million. They don't want a penny of it. In fact, I was told that the conversation had been had, whether it was seriously or in jest, the conversation that had been had, that if any money ever showed up in their wallets that came from any community member or any, community initiative, that they would do their best to send it back. They don't want it. Because to take anything at this point from the community would mean that they would have to be beholden in some way to the community, and they just don't want to do that anymore. So it seems to me that the Terra rebels, or what is left of the Terra rebels, what they are right now, are planning on going their own way. I have full confidence that they still have the best interest of the chain in mind, that they will still work as the team to make sure everything goes smoothly, to bring utility, to all the things that we would expect from them. I believe that they'll do it, but don't expect that the community is going to have any influence over them at all. They are autonomous at this point, okay? They're doing their own thing. They're going to do whatever they want to do, and they don't want to have to answer to anybody about it. So, that being said, and that being the truth that I got pretty much from them, I would say that we shouldn't consider them when we're talking about a community-controlled committee that would move us forward. We have to elect some people ourselves. Okay, so after I made the video, I came home and I put my thoughts into a little clearer. I thought about it a little more clearly, and I didn't, I didn't take a lot of time to really think out every single detail. There are still details to work out, but I did put together a proposal that I put up on Agora, and if you've never been to Agora, this is how you do it. And if you want to go to you want to look at proposals, Agora is where all the proposals that we see on Terra Station that we vote on, Agora is usually where they hit first. Usually. I'm not saying they always do, but they usually hit here first. So that they can be vetted, talked about, tweaked, adjusted, debated. Okay? So, if you want to go and look at the things that are coming down the pike, or the different ideas that are coming from the community and some of the community leaders, what you do is you type into your browser classic-agora.terra.money, and that will bring you to the Terra Classic side of Agora Station. And then when you get in there, you go to, if you press on this research button, right, it brings you up to this menu. And if you go to governance and proposals, this is where you can sift through all the different things that are being proposed by the community and such. Okay, this is where I posted my proposal, and I'm gonna go over it with you. I'm gonna read it to you, but I would love if you would go to Agora the way I just described. You don't have to connect a wallet. It doesn't cost you anything. It's absolutely free to go and look at what's going on here. So I would love if you folks would go and read through my proposal and leave comments, leave suggestions. You love it, you hate it, whatever it is, let's chat about it, okay? Because I'll tell you, when I posted this, I thought, well, this is going to be fun. This is my first Agora proposal. Maybe I'll do more in the future, but let's just see how this goes. This will be fun. I didn't think it would really get any traction at all. It's been viewed 308 times. If you look at the ones around it, they're viewed into the thousands of times. It's only been up since yesterday. It's been, maybe 24 hours it's been up. Been viewed 308 times. There's 11 replies. Some of those are from me replying to other people. But what really made me decide to start taking this a little more seriously is that one of the, I'm not going to name him, but one of the prominent Terra rebels whom we all know and love told me directly after reading my proposal that if he were not already involved in another proposal that is out there along this same line, that my proposal is something that he could get behind. And that was surreal to me, okay? And that's when I said, well, maybe this actually is a good idea. And I've had a lot of DMs and stuff from people who appreciate it too. So I'm going to go through it with you. And again, you like it, you hate it, whatever it is, go and read it. Give it a like, give it some comments or whatever. And this is what it is. So you click on it. Let me go up to the beginning. If we have time, well, I mean, we have all the time in the world. I just don't want this to be too long. I might even go through some of the comments that have already been made. Okay. So the summary of my proposal, and this isn't really organized as well as it probably could have been, but anyway. So the summary of my proposal, or pretty much what the proposal is going to be about, reach a compromise between various proposals and community sentiment regarding Ethereum cross-chain, Terra Classic community assets, and a controlling body. Okay. The next bullet point is address community concerns in these debates and assure community representation in any governing body, elected or appointed. I feel like the community is not always well represented while all of these debates are going on. And that's partly the community's fault because they don't come to Agora and get in on these conversations, which you really should. Don't get all your information from me or from another YouTuber or from somebody who has a lot of followers on Twitter. Just because you have a lot of followers does not mean you know what you're talking about, okay? Come and read this stuff yourself. Anyway, I also believe, as I said in this last part, that if we do elect some sort of governing body or some sort of committee to propel us forward, that there needs to be community representation on that board, okay? And I'm not talking about another dev or another big technical guy. I'm talking about someone genuinely who is in the community, who sees things through their eyes, okay, and who can adequately represent their interests while these other guys or gals are making decisions, okay? Because they can let their technical minds get away with them and sometimes forget to think that the reason they're doing this stuff is for us, right? So anyway, all right, I'm sorry. I know I'm taking too long. Proposal ideas. Since it seems everyone is coming around to the idea of a governing body, at first everybody was really against it, but now everybody kind of is, okay, yeah, maybe that makes sense. Okay. Of trusted professionals who are capable of making decisions pertaining to the development of the Terra Classic chain, I thought I would put my ideas in writing and add them to the mix. This idea was originated by Alex Forshaw with his Agora proposal on the 28th of October. The idea was met with various objections and concerns regarding the self-appointed governing body. The ideas I will express here are meant to alleviate some of those concerns while still preserving the logic of an oversight committee. So, I go into elections, okay? My recommendation would be that we elect 8 people to this panel, not 6, not 9. Reasons for this specific number will become apparent later. I further suggest that we select a date by which potential candidates for this committee can submit their candidacy on Terra Station for a vote. Each text proposal submitted by a potential candidate should contain all pertinent information that they wish to relay to the community regarding why they should serve. As there is a fee for submitting a proposal on Terra Station, random agitates would be dissuaded from mucking up the process with farcical proposals. Voting would proceed as normal, and a candidate would only need to reach quorum to progress to the final vote, which would be held on the following week, okay? So you put your name out there, you announce your candidacy, you do it through a proposal on Terra Station, okay? It costs to do that. You cost a certain amount of coins or whatever to do that, right? And you pay for that yourself, or just like any other candidacy. Maybe you got people who go in on it for you to support you in your candidacy, to put you out there, right? However you do it, that's how you do it. And then all we got to do is reach quorum. If you reach quorum, everybody who reaches quorum moves on to the final election, which will be held the next week. Okay. I just, so I didn't lose my place. Let me see. All right. This should severely narrow the field in the unlikely event there are not 8 candidates who reach quorum. Then the candidates who came closest to reaching it would be the 8 that we have as our committee members. Although I find that almost impossible, right? That we wouldn't even have 8 people reach quorum. I'm sure we'd have more than that, way more than that, maybe. Okay, should we have more than 8 candidates reach quorum, those candidates would go on to the final election, which would be a top 8 total vote scenario. Okay, so basically, on Terra Station, you would just be voting. Yes, everybody would have one vote, right? So you just vote for the person that you're voting for. Okay, that's it. The top 8. The people with the top 8 amount of votes, that's your committee. That's it, okay? We can attempt to reach a consensus on how long a term committee members would serve before they needed to be elected again. But I would suggest we did this yearly. I heard from someone else earlier. They were like, well, a year is a long time in crypto, and you can really muck up a lot of things in a year. Maybe we should do it every 6 months. I mean, it's open. We can decide that, right? I believe it would also be prudent to install a function that allows for a majority vote of the committee to call for an emergency election regarding a bad actor / disruptive force scenario, or a situation where someone is unable to fulfill their term. So in other words, let's say we've elected the 8, right? And you got one guy or gal in there who is really running amok, who's causing more problems than they are anything else. It's clear to the rest of the committee that they are just obstructive. It's probably clear to the community as well. So the committee at any point would have the ability to call for an emergency vote of the community, okay, to vote this person out. And if we did that, then we would go through, the election process basically again to replace them. Maybe there would be a temporary appointee to finish out the term. I mean, these are things that we could work out, okay, as long as we are voting on who these people are. Okay. Terra Classic Community Ethereum cross-chain assets. It has been suggested that this money, approximately 4.16 million worth, should be converted to LUNC and kept in the community pool. I believe we should consider the still volatile nature of LUNC and look to a more stable asset. This is not to suggest a lack of confidence in Terra Classic, but an acknowledgement of the current reality. We don't really know where it's going to go yet. We're still in the rebuilding phase, okay? We're still, building utility, trying to bring, there's a lot that's going on, okay? So we're not at a point yet where we can feel totally confident that this price is going up. It could potentially go down. I don't know how smart it would be to convert all that to LUNC right now. It might end up being worth less in the short term, okay? All right, so as far as where was I? As far as where these assets are stored, I suppose that it is up for debate, but I would suggest we consider a specific wallet designated for these funds. Allocation of assets to or from this wallet would need to be governed by a smart contract, which is activated by a majority 5 out of 8 vote. The technical aspects of that, that's for the coders to figure out. I'm not sure exactly how that works. All I'm saying is that I don't think that we can give the keys to this wallet to anybody because we don't know how long any one of these committee members are going to even serve. So they would be leaving office, if you will, still knowing the keys. And you know how it is. You have keys to the wallet. You don't give that to anybody, never mind like 8 different people, right? So of the 8, in order to get anything passed, you need a majority vote, which would be 5. Okay, so 5 out of 8. So on anything that they vote yes on, 5 out of 8 vote, then my idea is that some smart contract, then activates and withdraws, the cash, or, inputs the cash. Again, I don't know how all that technical stuff works. And that's when you're doing a proposal like this, when it's nice to be able to work with a Zaradar or an Ed or something like that. I just didn't have access to that right now, okay? But, I'm confident that all that kind of stuff could be worked out. Okay, activated by a majority 5-8 vote. It could be a security risk for any member or former member of the committee to have access to the keys. Hopefully smarter people than I could figure out the way to do this. Okay, the committee should not have unlimited power to utilize these funds on their vote. I would suggest that we set a dollar amount, possibly somewhere between $100,000 and $200,000, which would be a cap for what can be voted on by the committee. Anything above whatever dollar amount the community decides on would have to be presented to the community via an over-budget proposal, an OBP I call it. I'm sure this number would be hotly debated, assuming any of this seems a logical path at all. Just bear in mind that the lower that number, the slower the process, because we would be getting more and more proposals to be voted on before moves could be made to grow the network, thereby making the whole purpose of the committee, negated, right? We don't want, to say, every $10,000 we got to vote on. I mean, we'd be voting every 2 seconds. There would be no reason for the committee at that point. So I think somewhere in the neighborhood of $100,000 to $200,000, somewhere in there seems kind of a logical spot, right? In other words, anything below that, the committee can vote on and move on themselves. But anything that's going to cost more than that, they've got to submit a proposal for us to vote on, the community, right? Now, it's been said, and I thought of this myself, right? But it has been said in the comment section, well, all they've got to do is say, even if it's a $1 million project, all they got to do is break it up into 5 different pieces and say, it's under the $200,000, so we didn't have to ask you, right? Well, no, okay? That would be on the total project amount, okay? So even if it's a 5-year or a 10-year project that happens in phases, we would want to know what is the projected total cost of that project. And if it's more than $100,000, $200,000, whatever we decide on, then that is going to come up for a proposal vote, a governance vote by the community, okay? Also, because they would be serving terms, and I would imagine that they would want to repeat their term, right? Be voted back in. I'm sure going to be a salary involved, right? Because I don't think that anybody would want to lose that position, especially when, we're only talking 6 months or a year. We're not talking some 4-year terms, right? I can't imagine that they would try to pull one over on the community. We're not stupid. We're not gullible. We're not naive. Because to do that would be your removal, and you'd be replaced with somebody else. So I can't imagine that anybody would try to pull that crap. Not only that, I have confidence in the community that we would ultimately elect people who have a track record that we trust, okay, who have been transparent, who have accomplished, things for the community and for the chain. I don't see that as being a problem. But I do acknowledge that all of this could probably be tweaked if anybody even decided that this is a way that maybe we should go, okay? Over budget proposals. Those are these OBPs that I mentioned, right? Proposals submitted to the community for approval above the agreed upon dollar amount would be voted on by the community as well as the committee. So the committee would have a vote on these as well. As it seems logical that the elected committee would have a greater knowledge and awareness of the inner workings of the chain and development progress, I would recommend they hold 5% voting power each. Okay? So we all, as a community, everybody gets one vote, but everybody that's on this committee, their vote represents 5% of the vote. This is why when I said there's 8 of them, so 8 of them with 5% of the vote equals 40% of the vote. It's still not a controlling amount, but it's enough of an amount to be significant, which I feel it should be, because these are the guys we elected because they're the ones with the brains, right? However, we still would, as a community, we still would maintain 60% of the vote, okay? So as it goes on, it says, well, with 8 committee members, it's a total of 40% of the vote, leaving 60% of the vote still in community control. This specific ratio is why I chose 8 committee members as opposed to 9. And really, why was 9 ever the correct number anyway? Like, I don't know where he pulled 9 out of, you know what I mean? Or why they considered that was a good number. So someone has also said, well, with 8, you can be deadlocked, 4-4. Well, if it's 4-4, it doesn't pass, period. Because you need 5 of the 8 to pass anything. That's the majority, right? That's the multi-sig aspect of this. 4-4 won't cut it. It's got to be 5-3, or 6-2, or 7-1, or unanimous, right? That's how you get things passed on this committee. Okay, a final thought. As someone who is always concerned that the non-technical and non-finance engineer community is left out of the narrative, I would strongly suggest a community liaison be part of this committee, in addition to the 8. Although I have not discussed the subject of compensation for the committee here, as I believe that it is an entirely separate subject and possibly putting the cart before the horse, I would think that this community liaison position would also be compensated, although voting ability should be the same as any other community member. In effect, one vote, okay? So think of this position as the conscience of the group, a person to keep the group grounded in a community-first outlook and who holds no allegiance to any particular faction or perspective, a person that is unbiased, okay? So I'm saying that included in all negotiations, in all meetings, in all everything, this person, this community liaison, would be a full-fledged member of the team and would be required to be included in everything, okay? But they do not carry the 5% vote, okay? Because this is, by definition, not going to be necessarily a technical person or whatever. This is someone from the community who we trust to represent our interest, right? But they would have one vote just like the rest of the community. It would be a paid position, but they would be, as I said, the conscience of this group, keeping this group of eggheads, if you will, concentrating on community. Well, okay, but this is how the community is going to view that. This is how do you explain that to the community? How do you break that down so that the people can understand it? That's who we need in there. That person that's going to make them do those things, okay? I think that's essential. Maybe even more than anything else that I've said, I think that's the most essential part. Okay, in conclusion, the idea is to maximize the decentralization of Terra Luna Classic by including as much as possible the community in the selection of who leads it and in what capacity. I humbly submit these ideas for your consideration and welcome your constructive criticism. Thank you for taking the time to read, DJ Trev. Please go to Agora Station and check this out. Read through it again for yourself and leave me some comments as to whether you think this is a good idea, a bad idea, not doable, or essential. Because that's going to decide my next moves. Do I actually make an actual proposal out of this? Do I seek one of these guys, one of these devs or programmers or coders or whatever, to help me figure out the intricacies of how to actually make this work and then put it on Terra Station for a proposal. I don't know. I might do that if it seems to be something that the community appreciates and approves and backs. If not, maybe I at least gave some people some things to think about. And maybe some points here can be carried forward into whatever it is that we end up with. But we need to end up with something quick because we're seeming a bit disheveled lately. And it doesn't engender confidence. So we need to put something in place. All right, go to this if you can. Leave a comment. Let me know what you think. Please like this video if you have not already liked it. Leave a comment in this comment section if you want. And if you're not subscribed to my channel, please subscribe to my channel. Follow me on Twitter. There are links down below of all the different places you can follow me. And I appreciate it all. I really do. I appreciate everybody who watches these videos, who comments. I'm bewildered by you guys. I really am. And I thank you from the bottom of my heart. All right, that is going to be it for now. And I will chat with you later. Ciao.